The unexpected side effect of creatine. They never warn you about. Everyone talks about creatine helping build muscle, lift heavier weights, and recover faster after workouts. But what if the most surprising effect of creatine has almost nothing to do with muscles at all? Because honestly, there's one unexpected side effect that catches a lot of people completely off guard, and almost nobody warns you about it before you start taking creatine. Some people notice strange changes they never expected. Others experience subtle shifts in energy, recovery, hydration, or even mental focus that don't get talked about nearly enough online. And thanks to social media, there's also a ton of confusion, exaggeration, and misinformation surrounding what creatine actually does inside the body. That's why today we're breaking down the hidden side effects of creatine, the weird changes real users often notice, and the truth behind what's really happening once you start taking it consistently. Some effects are physical, some are psychological, and a few are surprisingly misunderstood. And trust me, number 6 is the one most people never see coming because it completely changes the way many people think about creatine altogether. But before we begin, drop your name and the city you're watching from in the comments below. Alright, let's get started. Number 1, the scale might jump up fast. Have you ever started taking a supplement and then suddenly noticed the scale jump up a few pounds almost overnight? That's actually one of the first unexpected side effects many people experience with creatine, and honestly, it catches a lot of people completely off guard. The good news is that in most cases, it's usually not body fat. Creatine works by pulling extra water into your muscle cells, which helps muscles stay hydrated, perform better, and recover more efficiently during workouts and physical activity. But if nobody explains that ahead of time, seeing the number on the scale suddenly rise can feel pretty alarming. Some people immediately assume something went wrong. They panic, think they're gaining fat, or even stop taking creatine entirely because they believe the supplement is making them gain weight. But in reality, what's often happening is water being stored inside the muscles where creatine is actively working. And interestingly, not everyone dislikes this effect. Some people actually love it because their muscles often start looking slightly fuller, firmer, or more defined fairly quickly. Even before major strength changes happen, the muscles can appear more filled out due to the extra water inside the muscle tissue. Of course, for people focused heavily on weight loss or trying to keep the scale moving downward, that temporary increase in body weight can still feel frustrating mentally. That's why understanding what's happening matters so much. Because honestly, the scale doesn't always tell the full story. A small increase in weight doesn't automatically mean worsening health or fat gain. Sometimes it simply means your muscles are becoming more hydrated, supported, and prepared to perform better over time. Number 2, you may feel thirstier than normal. Here's a side effect that sounds small at first, but it surprises a lot of people pretty quickly once they start taking creatine. Many users suddenly notice they feel thirstier throughout the day than they used to. At first, it can seem random. People wonder why they're reaching for water more often, feeling dry more easily, or getting thirsty faster during workouts or daily activities. But there's actually a simple reason behind it. Creatine helps pull extra water into your muscle cells, which is part of how it supports muscle performance, hydration, and recovery. The downside is that once your muscles start holding onto more water, your body's overall need for hydration increases too. And if you don't drink enough fluids to support that change, your body often lets you know pretty quickly. Some people start feeling tired, sluggish, foggy, or unusually drained during the day. Others notice headaches, dry mouth, muscle tightness, or low energy without realizing dehydration may be the real issue. Honestly, this side effect might actually turn into a good wake-up call for a lot of people. Because the truth is, many adults already walk around mildly dehydrated most of the time without even realizing it. Busy schedules, coffee, hot weather, exercise, and simply forgetting to drink enough water throughout the day all add up fast. In a strange way, creatine often forces people to finally pay closer attention to hydration, and many end up feeling better overall because of it. The good news is that this is one of the easiest creatine side effects to manage. Once people increase their fluid intake consistently, they usually tolerate creatine much more comfortably and often notice better energy, recovery, and workout performance overall. Sometimes the problem isn't the supplement itself, it's simply that the body needs more water than people realize. Number 3. your muscles can look bigger before they actually grow. Ever look in the mirror a week or two after starting creatine and suddenly think, wait, do I already look different? That's actually one of the most unexpected effects people notice, and honestly, almost nobody talks about it enough beforehand. A lot of people expect creatine to only affect strength or workout performance, but visually, some changes can show up surprisingly early. Because creatine increases water content inside your muscle cells, muscles often start looking slightly fuller, firmer, or more filled out relatively quickly. Shirts may fit a little differently, arms or shoulders may appear more defined. Even without dramatic muscle growth yet, the body can start looking healthier and more athletic in subtle ways. Now, it's important to understand what's actually happening. This doesn't mean huge amounts of brand new muscle suddenly appeared overnight. Real muscle growth still takes time, consistency, exercise, recovery, and proper nutrition. What people are mostly seeing early on is increased water stored inside the muscles themselves, and that extra hydration can create a noticeably fuller appearance. And honestly, for many people, this becomes one of the most motivating parts of starting creatine. Seeing even small visual changes can create a huge psychological boost. People start feeling more confident, more encouraged to stay active, and more motivated to keep training consistently because they finally feel like their efforts are starting to show. That motivation matters more than people realize. Because when people feel better about how they look and move, they're usually much more likely to continue exercising, eating better, and taking care of themselves long term. So while the visual effects of creatine may seem small at first, they often become the spark that helps people stay consistent long enough for the bigger long-term changes to happen later on. Number 4, taking too much can wreck your stomach. Now let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes people make with creatine, and honestly, it causes a lot of completely unnecessary problems. Some people assume that if a normal amount works, then taking massive doses must work even faster. That's usually where the trouble begins. A lot of users jump into huge loading doses because they want quicker muscle growth, faster strength gains, or dramatic results overnight. But instead of helping, it often just overwhelms the digestive system. That's when side effects like bloating, stomach cramps, nausea, or loose stools tend to show up. And ironically, many people end up blaming creatine itself when the real problem is simply taking far more than the body comfortably handles at one time. The funny thing is, most people don't actually need huge amounts at all. For many adults, a simple daily dose of around 3 to 5 grams works perfectly fine over time. Creatine works gradually, by slowly saturating your muscles consistently, not by shocking your body with massive amounts all at once. And honestly, this is where impatience causes more problems than the supplement itself. People want instant transformations, so they try to force faster results. But the body doesn't really work that way. Creatine tends to work best when people stay patient, consistent, hydrated, and realistic about the process. The long-term benefits usually come from steady daily use over weeks and months, not from mega-dosing for a few days hoping for a shortcut. Sometimes less really is more. And with creatine, consistency almost always beats intensity when it comes to getting good results without unnecessary side effects. Number 5. Workouts may start feeling smoother. This is where creatine starts getting really interesting. A lot of people expect it to feel dramatic, like some giant burst of energy or instant superhero transformation the moment they take it. But honestly, that's usually not how creatine feels at all. The real effect is often much more subtle, and in many ways, that's what makes it so effective long-term. Instead of suddenly feeling unstoppable, workouts may simply feel easier to maintain. Recovery between sets improves a little, fatigue doesn't hit quite as fast during intense effort, and muscles seem capable of pushing through a few more reps before giving out completely. At first, those changes may sound small or even underwhelming. One extra rep? Slightly smoother recovery? That doesn't sound life-changing, but over time, those tiny improvements start stacking on top of each other in a huge way, because better workouts usually lead to better consistency. And better consistency is where real progress happens. When your body feels slightly more capable, you're more likely to train regularly, recover properly, and keep showing up week after week. That's the part people often underestimate about creatine. The biggest effect usually isn't one dramatic workout. It's helping the body perform just a little better repeatedly, over months and years. And honestly, those small improvements compound faster than most people realize. A few extra reps here, slightly better recovery there, and less fatigue during hard effort. Over time, that can completely change strength, endurance, muscle growth, and overall fitness progress. Ironically, creatine's power comes from how unexciting it feels at first. The results build quietly in the background until one day people suddenly realize they're stronger, more consistent, and capable of doing things that used to feel much harder before. Number 6. Some people notice better mental energy. Now here's the side effect that surprises almost everyone. Most people think creatine is only about muscles, strength, and gym performance, but creatine also helps support energy production inside the brain. And honestly, that's where things start getting really interesting. Some users report feeling mentally sharper, more focused, or less mentally drained during stressful or exhausting days. Others notice they feel a little more steady mentally when they're tired, overworked, or running low on sleep. That's one reason researchers have become increasingly interested in creatine's possible role in cognitive function, especially during periods of fatigue, stress, or sleep deprivation. The brain requires a huge amount of energy to function properly, and creatine plays a role in helping support the body's overall energy systems. Now, it's important to keep expectations realistic. Creatine is not some magical brain booster that suddenly transforms memory or turns someone into a genius overnight. The effects are usually subtle, not dramatic. But for many people, the mental changes end up being far more noticeable than they expected from a supplement mostly known for gym performance. And honestly, that's part of why creatine has become such a growing topic outside the fitness world lately. Researchers and health experts are starting to look beyond muscles and ask bigger questions about how creatine may support energy, recovery, healthy aging, and even brain function over time. For many users, that unexpected mental effect becomes one of the most interesting parts of the entire experience. Number 7. You may become more consistent without realizing it. Here's a strange side effect nobody really warns you about. Creatine can quietly improve motivation without people even realizing it at first. And honestly, it usually happens through momentum more than anything else. When workouts start feeling better, people naturally become more willing to keep showing up. Maybe recovery improves slightly, maybe fatigue doesn't hit as hard, and maybe exercises feel smoother, or strength starts improving little by little. Those small wins may not sound dramatic, but psychologically, they can become incredibly powerful. Because once people notice progress, even subtle progress, they usually become more consistent. And once consistency improves, better results often follow naturally. Better results create more confidence. More confidence makes people want to stay active. And suddenly, a positive cycle starts building almost on its own. That's why motivation often grows after progress begins, not before. And honestly, this may be one of the most underrated benefits of creatine. Not necessarily the supplement itself, but the fact that it helps some people stay engaged long enough to actually build healthier habits over time. Because the hardest part of fitness and healthy aging usually isn't one workout. It's staying consistent for months and years. When people feel stronger, recover better, and start noticing small improvements, exercise stops feeling like punishment. It starts feeling rewarding. And once that shift happens, long-term consistency becomes much easier to maintain. Sometimes, the biggest benefit of creatine isn't physical strength at all. Sometimes, it's simply helping people build enough momentum and confidence to keep taking care of themselves long-term. Number 8. The biggest surprise is how slow the real benefits are. Let's be honest for a second. Social media has completely distorted people's expectations around creatine. You see flashy transformation videos, dramatic before and after photos, and influencers acting like creatine will completely change your body in 2 weeks. And honestly, that creates unrealistic expectations for almost everyone. A lot of people start taking creatine expecting instant muscle growth, explosive energy, or overnight results. Then when those dramatic changes don't happen immediately, they assume the supplement isn't working. But real creatine results usually happen much more gradually than social media makes it seem. Strength tends to improve little by little. Recovery slowly becomes easier. Workouts feel smoother over time. Energy during exercise becomes more stable and reliable. And those improvements quietly build in the background week after week. The changes are usually steady rather than explosive. And honestly, that's exactly why they last. Because real fitness progress rarely comes from one dramatic moment. It comes from small improvements repeated consistently over long periods of time. A slightly better workout today, slightly better recovery tomorrow, and slightly more consistency next month. Those small gains eventually compound into major long-term results. Ironically, the people who usually get the best outcomes with creatine aren't the ones obsessing over fast transformations. They're the ones who stay patient long enough for the process to actually work. And honestly, that may be the biggest lesson creatine teaches people. Sustainable progress usually looks boring at first. It builds quietly, gradually, and consistently until one day people suddenly realize how much stronger, healthier, and more capable they've become over time. So, what's the unexpected side effect of creatine nobody warns you about? Honestly, it's that creatine often affects much more than just muscles. From hydration and mental focus to workout consistency and confidence, the changes can show up in ways most people never expect. What about you? Have you ever noticed any surprising effects while taking creatine, or are you thinking about trying it for the first time? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more honest fitness and health content without the hype.